stream chat?
Malti, do you want to update the live stream chat with the latest
I
link
did
again?
already. I
Oh, okay.
did.
Maybe put it in the chat box or something.
Yeah,
Chat,
I did.
Malti?
Yeah, Swati, could you please join us in the live stream chat, which is given in the link, which is given there? There seems to be some goof up of the links. Hardeep, if you could also join that link.
But I don't see anything on the chat here.
On the live stream chat, it should be there. I can also put it in the studio chat. You should have it.
All right, now I do see it. Thanks, I'll join
Yeah.
that.
Okay,
Yeah,
sure.
sure.
Join there.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so I'm glad that finally we are here. Looking forward to do my last live sessions for Product Talk with Malti. For folks who are attending Product Talk with Malti live series, this is something which we started about 3-4 months back. And if you still haven't checked, I have put in the link to the YouTube, our YouTube channel over the live stream chat. So you can of course follow it in this link, but you can also go to our YouTube live and to our LinkedIn page where we are live right now. And I couldn't have asked for a better, session to end the year with some of very very esteemed and very very eminent product leaders and design leaders from this circle. While we're doing that, Aparna, we have put in the chat link. Can you please join there? There seems to be some issues with the chat link. If you could join there, this is the, yeah. All right. So as we go live, to introduce, my name is Malti, and I'm the host and founder for Product Talk with Malti. And super stoked to have Salone, Vaishnavi, and Sindhu today, where we are going to talk about a very, very pertinent topic, that how do one break through the product leadership ceiling, right? I myself have about close to 24 years, all in product development and product management. And a lot of folks, especially a lot of people who are in middle management, senior product managers, principal product managers, one of the primary questions that they have is that how do I break the break into the next year? How do I move into the next year? Especially if being a woman, there are many, many more nuanced, there are, which is very, very specific to women's growth, especially in product leadership. So we are going to touch upon a lot of some of those very, I would say, important topics, especially something which is very close to my heart as well. But before we jump into do that, let's start with a quick introduction. Saloni, why don't you go ahead and do a quick introduction?
Awesome. Thank you, Malti, and hi and hello, everyone. I'm Saloni Barar. I head design at Salesforce. I lead the Commerce Cloud and I head the entire apps India as well. I have moved from Boston to Hyderabad. It's been 6 months, so still learning and unlearning the culture here. And with that, it's been over 20 years of experience, and it's going to be interestingly 10 years at Salesforce too for me very soon. So I have a design background. I love coding, research. So I wear multiple hats, and I had my own startup. Um in my previous life, I would say. It's been a long journey now, and so happy to be here. With that, I'll pass it on to Sindhu.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Saloni and Malti. Super excited about this. Hello, everyone. I'm Sindhu. I work as a director of product at Vadvani Foundation. Like Saloni, I also like wearing multiple hats. So I started my career as a software engineer at Microsoft, moved to a startup, did my MBA internationally in Barcelona, went for an exchange to Duke in US, worked in healthcare in the marketing space. Now, over the last 5 years, I'm working with Vadvani, and yeah, it's been great. I love creating impact at scale. And apart from it, during my free time, I love writing. I published my first book early this year, and I'm also a mom of a 1.5-year-old baby. So he's turning very naughty, so can't call him a baby anymore. Over to you, Vaishnavi.
Hey, thank you so much. So nice to be here, first of all. Hi, everybody. My name is Vaishnavi. I am currently heading driver products at Swiggy. It's been about 18 years for me around in this industry, and largely around consumer tech products, where I've been heading growth and app experiences and gamification across organizations like Ola, Zipdial, Cred, and now at Swiggy, right? And I'm super, super excited to be here today. Very happy to hear from everybody. Very happy to share some of my experiences. I have two kids as well, 1 8, 1 5, a handful. But they keep me pretty busy when work is not keeping me busy. So yeah, that's about me.
Okay, yeah, we all have those two jobs, right? One at home and one at work. So we are going to touch upon some of those aspects, right? So I'm going to start first with Saloni. Saloni, I think one of the most important questions that a lot of women product managers, or for that matter, product managers have, is that how does one transition from a product manager to a product leadership role, right? So how does one go about achieving that? Probably you want to share your own journey or some thoughts on that.
I think, thanks, lovely question. I think the first thing is I don't know what is transition because as product manager, you're already a leader. So you are starting as a leader. Yes, how would you grow and how would you expand would be something I would be really talking about because anything to do with product, you're already putting all your expertise, your leadership, your like, even if you're a starter, mid, or like a senior exec level, I think everybody just wears the shoes differently. That's how I take it. And in terms of preparation, I think with experience, that continues to evolve. And one of the things I always feel is learning around. So when I say about learning, learning is so deep and such a broad term because you learn from your leaders presenting, you learn from your cross-functional partners, you learn outside also. So that's that growth space where I see how you move into that leadership and that maturity comes in. So even a starter, I think that's how I treat my teams very, I'll be very honest, that I call them leaders because you're already a leader. Just my directs and my managers are not leaders. All the ICs on my teams are actually the true leaders. I would always call them that, you are the rock stars. So that's how I see. And the growth just starts as soon as you are here or even before. So that's my 2 cents. And perhaps Vaishnavi or Sindhu, you want to add in?
I think you covered it beautifully, Saloni. You're absolutely right. I think it's more about how I can create a growth path for myself. Some things that have worked for me, at least. One is to get my uh, as a PM, make my PM skills solid. And this is true to any function. You get your core skills solid because that's when you're delivering impact, right? Problem identification specific to a product management domain is so critical. Once you prove that you are a great asset to the organization and any organization, right? Once you prove that you are to yourself also that you are a person who can deliver impact, who's very sharp at identifying problems, who is very curious about how others make decisions, who's very curious about why did another company build it this way, what can I do to learn from them, and very, very similar to what Saloni you also covered, how can you be a constant learner. I think the next step is then evangelizing all of this with people around you. That is where you say, okay, now I've done all of this and I'm going to sort of bridge the gap between what I've done to how I can create that visibility for myself. And there, I think what has worked for me is I sort of mimic people who are showing proven success in an organization, because I can see, and I had a wonderful manager in one of my previous organizations. Who had a very sharp way of communicating, had an excellent way of saying, hey, listen, we've done so much impactful work, all of this that we've done, and making allies with other teams and saying, this is not just our problem, it's everybody's problem. And that's when you're creating that influence and that skill to evangelize within everybody, because you cannot grow alone in an organization. It is a village. You have to have everybody on your side. You have to have everybody believe your problem is the org's problem and believe in your problem and work with you on it. So I think that is very important as you keep growing, getting people to be on your side, evangelizing. And there I think I just picked on people who are doing this really well, and made them my mentors and my people who are rooting for me, sponsors, etc. And I said, okay, now you tell me, like, I can see you're doing this really well. Either I mimic what you do, or I will and I'm going to sort of get guidance from you. And I did this really early on, sort of helped me learn faster, I think, in some of these softer aspects. But yeah, that's just one thing that I wanted to add.
Awesome. And just adding on to that, what Saloni and Vaishnavi said, right? A couple of things. I think for me, the first thing is raising your hand and saying, yes, I want that promotion. Because this is something I have learned in my early career. I would be like, okay, like I'll get it, if I deserve it. It was that mindset early in my career. But later on, I realized I have to explicitly ask for it, raise my hand and say, yes, I am ready for it. And of course, you have to prove yourself as well. Like I think Saloni and Vaishnavi said, one is your talent and also evangelizing and, making sure your team is also supporting that. You have people who are endorsing for you. And I think this is especially important. I wanted to give you one example. When I was actually offered this opportunity to become a director, I asked for it, but at the same time, I was also expecting. I was pregnant, so I asked for it, and then I was also thinking, oh my god, right? Like, so you have this thought, and one other thing that really inspires me. I think I listen to a lot of talks, and the point is, don't leave before you leave, right? I think I realized, oh, I'm just 3 months pregnant. There's still a long way to go. We'll figure out. It's scary, but the opportunity is there. You're getting it because you deserve it and you worked hard. So I think these two things, raising your hand and don't leave before you leave. And I know you'll have those doubts, but take a leap forward and trust yourself and learn on the way. I'm still learning, so I guess it's a learning path for everyone. Yeah.
Yeah. And you kind of, beautifully depicted that part, right? Just kind of connecting the dots. Like Saloni said that, every PM, I mean, I would say every individual has inherent qualities of the leadership. But the one of the ways you kind of depict that is by raising your hand and asking for help, and seizing that opportunity, right? So I think those are some amazing points, right? I mean, I think for any role for you to grow, you have to be a lifelong learner. You need to remain curious. You need to seek help, right? I mean, as Vaishnavi said, you have tons of people who have done that. Seek out those role models, ask for mentorship, never stop learning, never stop being curious, and continue to sharpen your craft. I think as long as you're doing this, your work gets definitely seen visibility, and that automatically kinds of helps in moving on to that next level. So I think that's like a mini master class, as I always say, in all my podcasts. Now, the next point that I want to kind of come up is that I mean, this is kind of proven, right, that any team which has diverse set of people, always the innovation quotient over there is always very high, right? So Saloni, I want to kind of start this question to you, that how do you enable to get diverse perspectives within your team, and how have you seen that benefiting largely to the team, for your own leadership, or for the team to kind of grow together?
That's so apt. And I was actually, as you were saying, I was thinking about my own team. Um, so when we talk about diversity, diversity can be in so many ways, I would say. So it is basically, I have women leaders, male leaders. Can you guys hear me? Sorry, my AirPod fell off. Yeah. So male leaders, female leaders, leaders from different parts of the regions, because I have my US teams which I work with, and I have my American teams, the India team, sorry, US and my APAC teams. So it is so much of uh, diversity with love and innovation that it is sometimes crazy to handle. I'll be very honest, because everybody gets something brilliant on the table. And I always encourage. Sometimes you'll see that they are shy to open up. There have been folks who have brilliant ideas, but they don't want to share it in that broader space. But I always encourage that if you don't share, we won't know what's there. And just sending it to me softly won't help. You have to build that relationship. You have to come out, you have to share, and you have to make people understand your point of view also. So that encouragement happens, and the peers also help each other. So we partner peers also, like a very extrovert with someone who's a little shy to come out with. So we pair them also. This is something which we work very well. So the leads and the junior designers, senior designers, all pairing up with different skill sets and different mindsets, that help a lot. And in my directs, and if any of them would be listening, they know exactly. I encourage. I said, if you don't have opposite thought processes, then there's a problem. Everybody cannot align. Somebody has to raise a challenge, and the other one has to come with a solution to it, and both have different perspectives. And I actually listen in. I don't even tell them. I don't get into that zone. I said, you figure it out, you come back with the solution, and I'm going to be in the listening mode, because I want to see you, how you're arguing with each other, how you're building your data points, and how you're coming across. And this really helps, because the best of the best decision making ideas comes when you are open and you're accepting and listening to others. So I think that diversifying and having that kind of a crew. And also, one thing is there, the newbies joining the team, they are the rock stars, honestly. They trigger such amazing thought process of why you didn't even think about Gen Zs. Oh, come on. This is like the fun thing we have. Always make sure that we have our all the new starters getting into that zone with the folks who are expert in and deep in the product knowledge, how they pair up. One breaks and one figures out the solution. So I think that helps a lot. I think that gives such a amazing flavor that it's really appreciated across.
Yeah, no, that's a brilliant point. And since I teach in MBA colleges, Saloni, I mean, how much you one can learn from these Gen Zs, or the and getting some very fresh perspectives and outside
Absolutely.
in is very much needed. But I have one follow-up question on that, Saloni, and this is something I also coach a lot of mid-career women, especially women, right? You spoke about one thing where you said that people have to open up, people should be, overcome their shyness to express their perspective, their thoughts. But a lot of, especially women, right, they always think that their work will speak for themselves, but that doesn't happen. They need to put in their voice, they need to make sure that their opinions are heard. So do you have any, like, advice or suggestions? How do you enable such people, especially women who are not probably speaking up in meetings, who are not very vocal about their thoughts? How do you encourage them?
So, first thing, I think the root cause is mindset.
Mm,
First of all, you have to understand that you're not different. You are a part of that whole circle, that meeting that I mean, the gender, or I'm junior, senior, women, male, forget all that. We all are equal when we are sitting there with our ideas.
mm,
That really, once you get that in your head, trust me, when you speak to a GM, also, you feel very confident that it's okay, I can go and I can present and I can do, because I feel he's also part of the company, I'm also part of the company, and we are both working for the betterment of the product.
right.
So that's one. And two, if you're still feeling that, I think a good way is to start working with a core group, that where you share your ideas. And if this meeting is going to happen with like 10 people, if you're not confident speaking in front of all 10, start working with one or two or three of them who are going to be in that meeting, and already share your ideas there. So then you always feel that that strength is there, that if somebody's going to back me up, or if I fall short, somebody's going to chime in for me. That also helps when you feel that maybe it is a situation. I'm thinking more on a perspective when we are in a controversial situation, or we are putting some ideas which might be shot down. Already buy those people out with your ideas already, like before you jump into that call. So that would help, number one. And number two is, start working on that fear. It will help slowly, and it's like it won't overcome day one, but slowly, steadily, like, try putting it. Because if you don't show, as I said, nobody will know. And there are different ways of doing it. Small groups, write it down. If you're good with writing, write it down, put it in a format that people can read it beforehand and answer the questions. There are multiple ways. So you need to focus, because we are in a world where we need to showcase. There has to be visibility. Otherwise, I mean, if you have great managers, they will find you. But if not, then you have to fight through. You have to work your way out. That's how I feel, Malti.
Yeah, no, those are some very brilliant, actionable insights. Thank you for sharing that. Because as you said, yes, one needs to, it's more a mental block where which one needs to kind of need to overcome. And it sometimes takes a lot. For some people, it comes very naturally. For some people, it's probably is going to be an added effort. Vaishnavi, Sindhu, if you guys want to have any additional, top it up what Saloni already shared.
Malti,
So,
one
yeah,
small
go ahead.
addition. Oh, sorry, Vaishnavi, go ahead.
No, please go ahead. It's fine. I'll
Just
go
one
ahead.
thing to add. I used to be that person. I feel like I still am very shy. I prepare a lot for everything. Believe me. So during my MBA, whenever I was asked to present, I will like really become very nervous. So I think to Saloni's point, it's all about practice and acknowledge everyone goes through it, because we see people coming to meetings and being confident. But even before this meeting, no, Malti, we were doing a dry run. All of us were coming together and we were like, is this working? Are we ready? So I think it's all of us. I think as leaders, we have to acknowledge that we all go through it. And that's very important. The second thing for me is also creating that safe space, because I go through it. I try to create that space where people can share, and it's okay to fail. It's okay to say something crazy, right? Like I remember during my MBA, one of my teammates said, let's just create time. Let's just create time. That's it. This is the solution. And the best part was our engineers didn't laugh at it. They said, oh, that's okay. That means increasing productivity. We can't create time because I can't code that, but I will increase the productivity. Right? So I think it's very important to create that culture as well. Yeah, over to you, Vaishnavi.
No, I think very similar thoughts. Amazing stuff from Saloni and Sindhu, right? Just two, three tactical things that I want to add. One, to get diverse perspectives. Some things that I've seen work very well is things like brown bag sessions, or things like just going on a Figma jam. I mean, not trying to any jam board and saying, hey, listen, this is, and doing it often enough, and then converting that into actionables from there on. I think that gives confidence to the people that you actually hear and you convert what they say into actionables, right? And that I've seen to work very well, because many people are very scared to speak, like you said, but you just put it on a forum and they're willing to type out ideas, as many as they can, and they're willing to back it with insights that they've got from somewhere else. The best part about this is they will take ownership to see it through also, because it's something that they're so passionate about. It's because the entire group has come together, and the way to control this can be, hey, today let's focus on this problem, because otherwise ideas can be all over the place. So focus on a problem, bring those brown bag sessions together, convert it into actionables. These can be small experiments that, and when you see quick wins, you feel more confident about about your own ideas, right? um, that is one. I think the second thing, I think Sindhu also covered very well, is um, acknowledge that you have the fear. That is the first step to overcoming that. um, and sort of create a, like create ways to get these quick wins, right? And you will have to do that yourself. The third thing is, managers here or leaders here can play a very good role, where you see, the core here is the fear of being judged, right? So, and why am I fearing being judged? What if I say something which is very silly? What if I'm not prepared enough? So prepare, like to the T, almost like any question, anticipate questions. And it's okay to say I don't know. Say it confidently. Say, hey, I'm so sorry, I don't know this, but I will get back in a day or two, and then close loops on that. That's how you also build trust, and that's when people feel more confident about your abilities, and your own confidence sort of increases, right? Just the last thing that I wanted to add is, I think leaders here and managers here can play a very important role, um, where you acknowledge the person and say, hey, Saloni, that was all of this work was done by Saloni, and she's done some great stuff on this. So in case you want to add something. So that's when people know that even though she's not able to speak up for herself, she's getting that recognition. And the moment you know that you're getting that recognition, your confidence is likely to sort of go up on your own. But for that, you need really good leaders who are backing up or standing up for you. In the absence of that, you've got to do this yourself. So figure out ways to get those quick wins so you feel more and more confident, and be prepared to the T, like absolutely well prepared. Just yeah.
Yeah. So I think that the key one liner, if I have to say, is that don't wait, just get started. And I think there were tons of actionable points that all of you have summarized very, very well. Okay, so that's rocking, and I can already see a lot of questions coming in. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to flip now and take one of the questions coming from the attendees, right? So I'm going to start with you, Sindhu. It says the question is that what is the one most impactful thing you have done that changed the way you approach your career?
Okay, I think that's a great question, and especially for me because I believe, Malti, that at least my career philosophy is I believe my career is a jungle gym. I really experiment a lot. This is what I write in my book also. When I was introducing myself, also, right? I started as a software engineer at Microsoft. I did program management. I did test engineering. I did brand manage. I launched a medicine in the breast cancer space. I worked in marketing, health. So I experiment a lot because that is something I enjoy. So the thing that I feel really helped my career is I experiment a lot, which I enjoy, right? So even right now, I'm with Vadwani Foundation, and a lot of people ask, right, like, why are you working in a non-profit? And especially in the impact space, there are a lot of questions. People think, oh, like, why are you in the non-profit space? But what I've seen is you have to experiment and go for what you like. I really like creating impact at scale. I didn't know anyone in the non-profit space. I remember when I was applying for Chai or Gates Foundation during my MBA, they used to be like, listen, you don't have experience in the non-profit space, you can't come. They are also equally selective. Just because you're coming from tech doesn't mean, they'll hire you. I think these companies, I think at Vadwani, we are very, very selective with our interview process. We have some amazing talent. So just to summarize, I believe I like experimenting. That is what worked for me. But at the same time, I look back and try to connect my strengths, right? So I'm working as a director of product. My strength is technology. My strength is people management. My strength is also I worked in marketing, so I understand customers. So I try to connect all of that story when I'm pitching for the next career. So yeah, that's my career philosophy, and that is what I do. I experiment and I tell the story, and I constantly reflect upon it.
Oh no, that's very, very inspiring, Sindhu. And in fact, I would recommend you to probably put down the name of your book on the chat, and I'm sure it'll be very inspiring for folks. Yeah. Okay. My one of the next question I have is for Vaishnavi. Vaishnavi, one of the key things, especially we all spoke about team, collaboration, because that's very the one of the core essence for success for an individual and largely as a team, as an organization, right? So in your view, how does one build allies in product, not only product teams, because especially we are a very, very cross functional role, right? We are one of the leanest teams in any company,
Yeah.
right? So how do you build your allies with all your stakeholders and beyond that?
Yeah, it is such an important question, actually, to be honest, because I realized this through my journey. I may be an excellent PM. If I cannot have people saying that about me, my growth gets stunted in an organization, right? And this I faced a lot as a junior PM many years ago. You've got to have people bat for you. You've got to have people say, hey, if she walks into the room and she says something, it is probably going to be 80-90% right. Obviously, you will not be right all the time. You were likely to fail. um, so that and hence I think is a super important point to touch upon. I'll talk about what has worked for me, right? um, what has really really worked for me, and we touched upon it a few minutes ago, is when I go, I do 2 3 things, and I do it with a lot of conviction. One, I have my preparation sort of right? And not just to build allies, because I really have to solve a problem. So have I looked at all the data points? Have I got the consumer pulse right? Have I spoken to competitors? Have I spoken to PMs and other organizations? Have I spoken to marketing? Have I spoken to other functions? I sort of build that pulse, and I do that on an ongoing, and I have been doing it on an ongoing basis, where I may be talking to PM who's probably not even doing what I'm doing, but just can I connect more dots and build uh, a better pulse of what I'm doing, right? And hence I'm likely to be better prepared for questions when they are shot at me. um, that has really worked for me. I think the second thing that has worked for me is to make sure I have every why answered, right? And I answer those whys very transparently to my cross functional stakeholders, and sort of give them all the information. And not create any information asymmetry. I think it's absolutely important to be honest and transparent when you're sort of building these allies. There's no point in saying, oh, this is my problem, I'll try to hide it, and it will just not work. It's going to fall flat, right? The third thing that has worked really well for me, I think, is um, and I used to not do this, and I learned this the hard way. uh, Bringing people into my problem statement, and bringing them upstream, right, into whatever that is that I'm trying to solve for. I used to do everything, say this is and go ahead and do it, right? It just does not work, because people are like, why, right? But this my problem, others have to feel like it is their problem as well, because it is going to eventually impact the organization in some way. So can I and what this does is just not making them feel like it is their problem. You get excellent solutions, you get excellent points of view that I probably missed completely, right? And I cannot solve for this all by myself. So looping them in right upstream and saying, hey, listen, I am facing trouble and I need your help. There's nothing wrong in taking help. I need help, and I need you to do this with me, because this is how it is going to impact all of us. I think this has worked the best for me so far, right? Really making this everybody's problem and not just mine. um, and the last thing that has worked really really well for me is giving them due credit when things go well. It A thank you and an appreciation note, it may sound very small, but it does wonders in making people say, hey, when she gets something done, she is going to have your back, right? Which means when something goes wrong, I take the blame for it, and when something goes right, I say it's been a teamwork. It is hard, but it works wonders, because people will have your back when they know you have their back. um, at least these are some things that have worked for me. Yeah.
Yeah, no, those are, in fact, as you were talking, I mean, it kind of took me back into the time, because I remember during my early days, one of my manager, now she's part of the Google organization, but these were some of the things she said, it's not your
Yeah.
baby. You have to take everybody along. So,
Absolutely.
so very, very, very actionable points. Thank you,
Yeah.
Vaishnavi, and I'm sure that people have got some very, very tactical and very actionable insights over there.
Just
All
one more
right.
thing I want to add to this is, I think as your decision making gets better, right? I think naturally people gravitate to being a part of your story. So just building on that skill, it may seem like not totally related, but you need to work on getting your judgment more and more right over a period of time. And when that happens, I think naturally people say, okay, if Malti is walking into a room, she's going to be right. So let's just get along with whatever she's coming up with. So yeah, I think
Correct.
that's
And it
absolutely
helps in building your credibility, right? So
exactly.
that doesn't
Exactly.
happen by reading a book or just
Yeah.
by visiting a few customers. There has to a lot of things that has to work well in order to be able to make that right judgment,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's even building allies is a long drawn process. It takes years. You have to rebuild this in every organization. So I think, yeah, it's a long process. Takes a while, but you have to work on yourself
Yeah.
constantly to make that
Yeah,
happen.
that's true. That's true. With this, I want to add a little twist. And Saloni, this question is for you. This came from one of our audience even before I launched the session today. Just kind of building upon what Vaishnavi said, right? I mean, what happens is when you get promoted, right? I mean, you've built your allies, you've built your credibility, and that with that comes the growth. And a lot of times it does happen that when you become a manager, there could be a possibility that some of your peers, start reporting into you, right? And I think being a woman sometimes we ourselves add more complexity to it, right? Saying that, okay, how do I deal with this? My peers are now my reporting into me. Did you have yourself any such kind of a thing in your journey, and any thoughts on that?
Absolutely. This is really from my side true story. In fact, the entire team where I was working with started reporting into me, and and the thing is that um, the dynamics definitely changes, but I think it's to an advantage also. I took this as an advantage and it's working beautifully. It can go either ways because of course it will come that till yesterday I was working with her, our quotient was different today. I'm going to report into her, and she's like the respect and the whole conversation dynamics changes 100%. But now it's both the ways. It's on the manager and it's also on the direct who's going to come in, how they want to take this relationship forward. Either you crib, cry, talk, back channel conversations, or you take it as an advantage. Perfect. She knows exactly what my problem areas is, and now she's going to make it happen. I mean, make it work and make it happen for me. So if promotions were stopped, she knew this was happening. Now she's my manager. She'll make it happen. There's no two ways out of it. And I also know the areas where the directs were struggling. I can also help them. So I think it's kind of a boon. I think it's amazing where you know the entire team so well that you can build this as a strength rather than adopting the whole team and getting to build those relationships. I think this actually, and this is real time experience for me, this actually benefited me brilliantly for my team and myself. um, though there's always going to be some people who feel that my growth, her growth was always same and suddenly this happened. I actually focus on those folks also to make sure that they feel that now is the time to not feel neglected, and let's work on your strengths for the next level. Because I know those problem areas, so you have to be little bit more mindfulness has to come in because it's a sensitive zone, because emotions are very normal and those emotions are going to come in. And even if I were in their shoes, these emotions would have come. So I love that open conversation. A lot of things didn't change, but a lot of things did change in a fun way. So looking at this as a problem statement, let's reverse it out. It's actually an advantage statement. Yes, I would love that to happen each time. Because it's definitely a signal of strength, honestly. That, that whole ecosystem that, we help each other to grow. If they grow, I grow. So that growth pattern will work. And if you're feeling like they're going to be a situation where uh, it's going to be difficult, yeah, difficulties will come either ways, it will come. But how we make it transparent and help each other. A lot of time I go with my problem to my team, that this is a problem, now you guys are all experts and leaders, help me solve it. And we actually crowdsource to solve problems. This is all real time. This is all real time from my directs. Come sit. This is a problem. Let's all solve it. Just don't get that problem to me and I will solve it. No, I am not babysitting here. I have a 4-year-old. That's enough for me. And she also doesn't like babysitting. So this helps, and making them as enablers, that I know you so well that you become my strength now, and we can grow together. So, Malti, that's my take on it. And I throw that googly curveball back to you.
No, that's a very very positive way, and a great way to look at it. And I love the part where you said uh, the and I think this is a showing your vulnerability is a way of strength, right? It's not a weakness, and making them a part of that decision making. I love the part of crowdsourcing that you talked about, crowdfunding the solutioning. I think that's a great way of looking at it, and I loved love the thoughts.
Just one thing I wanted to add to this is when this happens, I think the first step is to the person who's getting promoted and has the entire team. I feel, and this is my take, that it's on, and let's assume Saloni is getting promoted and I'm going to report into her, or I'm getting promoted and Sindhu is reporting into me. It's on me to take that first step,
Yeah.
because I need to acknowledge that I'm growing and I've gotten promoted, but there is a sense of fear, and there's a sense of like, why did what did I do that, and that feeling of demotivation, and I'm probably going to leave this organ, whatever. I need to acknowledge and know that this is something that is lingering in the team now. And uh, and I think that you call the elephant in the room, which is just go speak to every single, whether the person is feeling it or not, because nobody's going to come and tell you like, why are you promoted, why am I not, right? I
Right.
think that the best way to do it is just have those open conversations, say, and set ways of working, and call out categorically that, hey, I'm not going to, please don't, and you can figure it, different people have different ways of working. You can say, hey, listen, I'm leaving it all to you, please let me know if you need my help. Or you can say, hey, we can have a one-on-ones, or you are going to be leading this part, I'm going to take a step back, whatever is your way of working. But call that elephant in the room and say, you don't have to worry, I'm not here to this thing, I have got your back, and you will continue to do everything that the way you're doing, so they feel reassured and safe in that space. I think that, I feel like, just to add one more point what Saloni said, maybe that can help addressed, because otherwise that there's an underlying current if it's not addressed, at least in my experience.
I
um
completely agree.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And making it
And
inclusive.
should I just add to that? I think my take is like if that person knows you for so long, that person won't change overnight.
yeah,
So that's also something to be mindful of. And also, we are in a corporate world. Mergers happen, two teams come together, one manager over the other. This is so normal. If you just step back and see that, the orgs are merging of orgs every year, something or the other happens. The leader or the direct needs to understand what is the end goal they are achieving and they're striving for, and where that focus is. So yeah, 2 cents there.
Yeah. No, I think keeping being sensitive towards your team and addressing the elephant in the room and being mindful, I think they go a long way in creating a environment which is kind of conducive for not only your growth, newly acquired growth, but also for the rest of the team and enable them to grow. All right, I'm going to go back to the questions. I'm taking this question from Sultana, which is specifically directed to Sindhu. She says, I was going through your LinkedIn profile and I saw that you were a Scrum Master once, and she's currently a Scrum Master, but from a non tech background and an aspiring product leader. So, how should one go? So, Sindhu, if you could take this question, because I see there is one more question where somebody is a non tech product project manager. So, if
Yeah.
somebody wants to transition, because this is also very critical because you have already spent some time, you have experience. So, how does one go about with that transition?
Yeah, absolutely, Malti. Thanks for that question. And I'll give you an example of what I did, right? So when I joined Vadhani, I joined as a project manager. So I think that's very related. I worked as a Scrum Master early in my career after Microsoft, and I worked in a startup. So I worked 2014 to 16. I worked as a Scrum Master. After that, I did my MBA, moved to marketing, and then there was a shift, right? So when you're moving from project management to product management, for me, what I did was I tried to take up some responsibilities from the product side. So I mean, again, there was also an opportunity, right, within the organization where there was a requirement from the product team. We were a very very lean product team back then, so we had like literally one product manager like few years back. And because product team could always use help, so again I raised my hand and I said, can I help, like can I like try it out, because it'll help you with two things. One, you can try and see if you like that role or not, right? Because when I was thinking product management, I was also like, oh, I want to try it, but again I also need to understand if this is my career or not. So I would say ask for some assignments within your organization if there's an opportunity. If there's no opportunity and you're trying for a different organization, then try to do some stretch projects. like maybe I think Malti, you are organizing some case studies. So a lot of product leaders do some case studies, do anything like a part-time project where you can showcase your product skills and pitch in the interview. The good news is, I think when we're hiring in product team, we look for a lot of diversity. If someone is like strong with project management experience or technical experience during the recruitment, that is also a strong thing. So these are my suggestions. If possible in your company, try, raise your hand, try that role, so that they understand that you're interested and you can transition naturally. So that's how it happened for me. If not, do some case studies or try something and then pitch your story, what are your strengths, and then build upon it.
Yeah, no, I think those are some great points. And yes, again, I think a lot of this goes back to, it has to be very self-driven. And I think that is a very core trait of a product manager, that nobody tells you what needs to be done. You have to be super high on your ownership. So even this transition, while you seek your help, you have to be extremely self-driven to make it happen. All right. I'm going to take another question, and anyone feel free to take it up. It says, what is the mantra to make product strategy work? How can one fail fast and get right strategy?
I can take that. Maybe I'll start
Go
with
ahead.
giving it a shot, and happy to have Malti. You should also, by the way. I think you probably will have a lot of pertinent points there, but maybe I can quickly start. I think to get your product strategy right, a couple of things that a PM can do. One, and I touched upon this a few minutes ago, but one, constantly have solid hypothesis that you can keep testing. And I'm particularly talking about fail fast and learn fast. Um, um, Go hypothesis backward, because otherwise if you just all over the place trying to look at every data point, it may not work, or if you are reaching out to a consumer without something in mind, may not work, right? So one, in my view, having strong hypothesis about every single thing. Some of the hypotheses may fail, some of them may get validated, but when something fails, what has particularly helped is understanding why it failed, so you don't have to repeat these again, right? So these are some ways to get your quick wins or your quick learnings. I think another thing that has helped is having a very sharp metric or a very sharp articulation of your end goal, right? In order to meet that end goal, how can I have maybe do some POCs? I can't build maybe an end-to-end product today, but can I do a POC to validate my core hypothesis? Once the POC gets validated, then you convert it into a long-term product, which then breaks down into your product roadmap, right? Which then converts into a strategy. Now, to get here, there are some things that you have to do. One is, like I said, hypothesis, validate that through looking at data, speak to consumers, speak to people from other verticals or other industries to understand decision making framework. For example, if you're building, say, a loyalty product, you don't have to only spend, let's assume, I'm building a loyalty product for the gig workforce in Swiggy, just taking that as an example. I don't necessarily have to speak to only the gig workforce. Can I speak to a consumer product? Can I speak to a B2B product? How do they think about loyalty? Can I speak to, I don't know, some other industry itself, just to understand how these decisions are made, right? And then, of course, speak to your consumers through multiple channels, researches, call center, any inbounds that your consumer is saying, proactive feedback that your consumer is sending. You reach out to them after every single thing that you do in order to get that pulse. Once you have all of this, you know what hypothesis you want to test, you know what experiments you want to run, you know what a proof of concept you want to build, you know what small features you can build to test whether these are all valid, and then you break that into a long term product that ties to all of this, and then break it into a roadmap. Is a very high level, I think, a very zoomed out answer, but I'm happy if there are double clicking questions, I'm happy to take them. Malti, Saloni, Sindhu, you guys also should add.
I think Vaishnavi covered it so brilliantly, the whole process. My only take is when you are driving that product strategy, see, are you reinventing something that is already existing? And if you are doing that, learn from the mistakes that's already made and don't repeat them. Don't do things which are already there. And if you are starting absolutely new, is there a need to start that thing new, or are there already certain things which you can combine and get that started. So that also helps in that mindset in that product strategy. Otherwise, I think Vaishnavi covered it brilliantly.
Yeah, no, I think some between the two of you have covered. I think the one more thing which I would add is that, just going back to Saloni, what you said is that while you kind of understand that the need is there or not, a lot of times, again, this is very specific to certain markets, there is always space for new players to come in. But when
Hmm.
that is the case, you really need to double down on what is your differentiation. What is the value proposition that you are, right? What are the strengths you a user say no to another product or switch from that product to your product, right? So kind of nailing that down, that is one aspect. And one another aspect which I want to kind of is that Vaishnavi spoke about, the customer empathy is like non-negotiable for product strategy, right? But fail fast, especially if it is a, let's say, a brand new, you are first mover in that space, or nobody has a very significant market share. The only thing I would say is that if it is a brand new market, there is a likelihood that you're able to move fast. You can really build some crappy prototypes, MVPs, to get it together. But if it is a space which is already matured, make sure that your mantra is not really very fail fast there, but even the prototypes or the MVPs that you are building is kind of made for that mature audience. Because at that point of time, if you are going to make those crappy MVPs, you are probably shut down even before you launch something, right? So
Yeah.
be very mindful about who is your target persona, targeting, segmentation, constantly asking the question to yourself, is this really needed? Will is there a better way of doing it? Looking at your competitors, don't get into, I think Vaishnavi spoke about it, don't get into analysis paralysis. That you will, there is always, you can do your research for 1 year, right? The idea is that how do you quickly take it out something, give it in the hands of your users, and they are the best people to tell you whether this is something. And I remember the last episode which I did with the Whatfix head of products. They if you look at a lot of products, like in fact YouTube, Instagram, they started with a very different idea, but then where they found their problem solution fit was something very different than the space where they started, right? So I think looking at a lot of these things helps you to the likelihood to succeed. Having all said all this doing, there is still no playbook which will
Yeah.
assure that your product will be a success.
Yes, absolutely. I think that one other thing I wanted to add is product strategy is always evolving. I think we've discussed this in the past also, Malti. It is
Yes.
not a point in time that I've cracked it today, so I can rest after this. There are so many other organizations doing so much to add value to users. You have to always keep up to the market. In fact, I know companies who completely pivot their strategy, right? In 2 3 years of doing something, completely pivot. Some of them add on to their existing strategy, saying I need to now expand because there's so much more that users are looking for. So at the end of the day, user has to want to use your product, so that pulse is super important, and it has to keep evolving.
Yeah, no, no, very, very well said. All right, I know we have last 5 minutes. I actually want to take one last question, probably from Swati, which says that how do you handle resistance from engineering, program management, basically all your other departments, that they are aligned with respect to your customer value proposition? Sindhu, do you want to take? I don't know how does this work. I don't think anything different, but anything more specific in this, in the social space. Anything different there?
Absolutely. I think, Malti, like you rightly said, I think a lot of the strategy will be common, but I can share from my example, right? I work a lot with the cross functional teams. I work very closely with I mean, all of us have to, right? Engineering, support. See, a lot of times it's about aligning everyone, rallying them around the customer, right? I think what Vaishnavi and Saloni and Malti, you've touched upon, right? At the end of the day, you have to really like believe what's best for the customer, And this is what we are experimenting. Even today I was talking to the team that we are talking with customers individually, but maybe we should also talk as a cross functional team, like one person from engineering, one person from support, one from product, joining and talking to the customer and listening to them. Right, at the end of the day we will have conflicts. Engineering will have a different opinion, product will have a different opinion, support will have a different opinion, but it's very, very important to rally around the customers, what they want. And the diversity is also important, right? At the end of the day, when you're listening to so many perspectives, that's when you're able to beat the competition, right? Like Malti, like you said, there's so many products out there, there's so many things happening. So you need that Gen Z energy, or in that moment, that idea coming from a junior or that idea coming from an engineer is the thing that could differentiate your product strategy versus your competition, right? So being open to listen to cross-functional team, and again, going back to creating that culture, listening to your customers and appreciating those insights is what is helping us. And again, all of us are learning. It's a constant process. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Anything?
mean, it's not the. I think one brilliant point you said. It's not the duty of only the product team to listen to customers. Everybody, in any capacity, you are a content writer, you're a technical writer, you are a designer, you are a QA person. Everybody needs to listen into those customer calls, be build their customer empathy. Yeah, that's right. Anything? I think this is the last question that I'll take. Saloni, anything last thoughts on this part? Because I think this is again. I think I just kind of want to bring in a little bit more. Add on here is that, especially being a woman, a lot of times we feel that can we lead this, especially stakeholder management. We all, while I would like us to not have these kind of problems, but imposter syndrome, doubting, self-doubt, these are realities, right? That many of us deal with day in and day out. So any thoughts, especially from this perspective, from being a woman product leader, any advice that you would like to say more from a stakeholder management perspective? Saloni, over to you.
Fear is normal. We are humans, fear is normal, self doubting, everyone. I don't think it's a gender thing. Trust me, I have more males coming to me for help than my female leaders who are like tigress in my teams. So it's so opposite. I would give that answer very neutrally, that it's just not gender. I think it can happen to everyone and it's very normal. So I think one thing, I think during our conversation we spoke about a uh, asking for help. That's absolutely normal and we should encourage that. And and no question is a wrong question. No question is a silly question. Somebody starting off might have that question. Somebody being an expert still can go back to that same question. So asking, when we stop thinking about these things, I think more happens. Like maybe that person will think I'm dumb that I'm asking this question, or if I don't know that space, then oh, she's not even aware of it. That these things come in. Be confident. It's fine. Excuse yourself with a smile. Apologize in a very confident way that you'll get back on that. So I think small things help to overcome these big fears. Trust me, I used to sweat before presentations and everything. But as soon as I used to go there, I used to smile and laugh. I used to forget that, oh, what was the topic? I've actually gone on a stage and I've forgotten the topic I was talking about. And I laughed to myself. And I was like, I need to go back and just check that. And it was just like fear overcome happens. And everybody started laughing. And that audience was the best audience ever. They encouraged me because it was like my first, second at Dreamforce presenting. That's like a big conference at Salesforce. And I loved that encouragement. So being vulnerable, asking for help, getting back on things, it's totally normal. Do that, practice that. And I think build a trusted community around it. And that happens when you have those trusted relationships, cross functional, cross leaders, cross peers, because you never know when that person is going to have your back. So I think a lot of these things were covered in different aspects of our conversations today. I'm just bringing that all together. I think That really helps. And don't be scared. It's fine, you know. Trust me, a snake won't bite us. Go do it. And we'll laugh after a few years that, oh my God, I did that mistake. So that's okay. Those are the stories. If you don't make mistakes, there are no stories. So it's fine. And we are all in that learning curve.
Wonderful points,
That's my
Saloni.
take.
Yeah, no, I mean, there is, I mean, if it would be just so smooth, there would be no fun. I think it is all those curveballs, those twists, and those fears. That's what makes this all like super fun. So brilliant, brilliant summarization of that. And I think there's just one last question, which probably maybe this could be like a final question. And Saloni, feel free to drop off. I know you have a flight to catch. Yeah, but I really, really
Awesome.
appreciate you taking the time out. And you can see, guys, from the
Thank
comments
you.
that everybody has found this to be so relevant. So and then just one last question, which probably folks who are staying back on the call can listen. And it says that last to stunt on career transition to product management. So, I mean, since now I'm an educator also. I see a lot of interest in people who are non-product management and want to career. I want to start with saying that if you really want to think what you want to get into product management, please do a deep reflection. Product management, number one, is hard. It's a it's it's a very, very ambiguous role. But I think it is this ambiguity, uncertainty, creativity is make what makes it all the fun, right? But if you really want to get into it, please reflect on what are your strengths, what are your transferable skills, build a plan. But don't think that if I have done this course, if I have done this these things, then I become a ace product manager for day one. It doesn't happen. Like any other profession, this comes with a lot of heartbreaks. This comes with a lot of tons of mistakes and learning. But if you are somebody who's up for it, for the whole lot of ambiguity, creativity, learnings, we spoke about a lot of different things in the last 1 hour, then go for it. Vaishnavi, do you want to add to something to it? Vaishnavi?
Just one thing I want to add, along with all the ambiguity, I think it's a thankless job. It is, if something goes really well, it's the team. If something goes really bad, it's you. You have to be humble enough to put everybody else above you, the problems above you. It is absolutely not easy. So I think reflection, you've got it bang on. If you know this is the right one, reflect, and moving then is not a problem, because there are tons of opportunities there, right? Within organizations, opportunities open up, like Sindhu covered a while ago. Do small projects, prove that you can do it, and then move. Join a startup. Probably one of the and I'm not saying joining startup is easy, but what startups help you do is you do bunch of roles, which almost like what a PM would do, and so it gives you that flavor of what a PM, and then transitioning may become easier after that. So I think there are enough opportunities if you know this is the right place for you.
Yeah.
Malti, I'll just add on to that what Vaishnavi said, right? That's also what makes it so exciting. It's a
Yeah.
thankless job, like she said, but it makes it so exciting. That is what made me like jump into this role. I mean, it's still a very, very tough role. You're nervous about
Yeah.
it, but that is what keeps you like moving forward, right? You're constantly learning and growing. So, like if you're like really into learning new things, I think definitely this is the role. Of course, it's a huge learning curve, but I'm sure you'll figure it out. All of us
Yeah.
did. So yeah.
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 Imagine, in my first 8 years of careers, I moved from being a techie to a solution designer. Then I moved on to become a program manager. And after I moved into product management for last 16 years, I have not changed. I have stayed on
Yeah.
course with it. So at least in my this things, this is one of the most best decisions of my career that I decided to transition without knowing, being an accidental PM. But one of the best things that has happened to me. But again, thank you all for staying back for the full 1 hour and for some really, really interesting questions. We appreciate the recording for this will be available both on the YouTube channel as well as on LinkedIn Live. And Vaishnavi can be found as Vaishnavi Devi and as a product leader at Swiggy. You can find her on LinkedIn. Sindhu can be found as Sindhu Kandipati, and she, I think, also shared her book link, so you can find her on LinkedIn. And Saloni is a senior product leader and designer with Salesforce, and you know where to find her on LinkedIn. I will also share this as part of the description for this particular recording. but you can find it under the live section of the YouTube channel. So thank you again. And we definitely went 6 minutes over, but I'm hoping that everybody found this useful.
I had a blast in this session. I think questions were wonderful. The audience has been super, super interactive. Some amazing questions from folks listening in. Amazing insights. I am taking back so much from Saloni, Malti, Sindhu, all of you. So thank you so much for Malti for having me over. It was a wonderful 1 hour.
Yes,
Absolutely.
same
And a
here.
great way to end 2024 Malti. And I'm sure
Yeah.
2025 will be super exciting for you as well with more product talks.
Thank you, thank you. And yeah, I'm looking forward for many more such interactions, and we continue to carry our conversations.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Thank
Thanks
you,
a lot.
and all happy holidays. Wishing you all a very happy new year. And I will see you all back in 2025.
Bye. Thank you.
Oh, did Vaishnavi already leave?